I think when you're working on location, you're very much with a full-on location shoot with a short schedule. You're far better off going for something that's very natural and going into places and saying, well, what's it giving me? How do I then take what this location has and enhance that? How do I take where the light's coming from? How do I then take that and say, all right, well, this is the light source. How do I embrace that? Maybe I need to put some negative here, maybe put a bit more light through that window. How do I embrace what the location's giving me? You have to be there at the right time of day, and then you have to bend and shape things into being something beautiful. You know, that may involve negative fill, that may involve embracing a fill light, may involve going in and saying, oh, I want all those windows taken out, or blinds put in those windows because I want to light it with this one practical. There's a scene that happens in Three Billboards where they find out about Francis putting up the billboards, and Woody Harrelson and Abby Cornish have a scene up at the stable, and we play it in silhouette, but with just the tiniest bit of light on Abby. And now there was much more fill light coming in from that side, but we went up there and I saw it was at dusk, and I thought this scene needs to play in a silhouette. But what I had to do is take off all the light that was coming from the other end of the stables. So we just put up a large black behind camera and a couple around it and just played it like that. And that's just taking what's there and shaping it into something else. So, I mean, that's a very simple example of that sort of approach. So if I look back at my work and I'd say, is there anything I'd do differently? I'd say, through your career, you tend to use less light. There are really good DPs in it, like Barry Ackroyd, Chris Mengers. Their work looks very natural, but it has a great beauty to it, and that doesn't happen by accident. You don't go in somewhere and go, oh look, it just looks amazing. I put the camera here, everywhere I put the camera it looks incredible. You may get one shot in 10, you'll go in there. If it's a stills photographer, you know, everywhere you go, you're not going to photograph an amazing image. You have to find that image. You know, in cinematography, you're doing 5 scenes a day. It's not going to happen. So you have to take something that's natural and you have to build it into something that does that, you know, and that takes work. If you're shooting on location, for instance, you'll walk into a place and say, well, where is the light coming from? Where should it be coming from? And how do you embrace that? So say you're in a normal interior environment, you've got light coming in through the windows, but you put your camera there, the windows are really hot and the interior is really dark. So you've got to try and, you want to keep that aesthetic going, but you've got to try and join the two together. So you're still going to want the windows hot, but you haven't got enough light inside. So what you might do is outside the windows, you might find somewhere to put a large bounce and try and push a little bit more light through the windows, but not affecting what you're seeing out of them. Or you might try and fill inside the room. You know, so I think a lot of it is about that, about getting the balance right. The long take starts as a day exterior. We had to do quite large iris corrections during the shot. You know, what you're trying to do is to try and get the darker elements, like when he goes up the stairs, you know, how do you get light into that area, which is very dark, naturally, when you're following him up and then leading him out, so you're looking in every direction. So we had a couple of lights rigged up in there just to put a little more light in the stairs. That was far more of a technical exercise with the camera movement than it was with lighting. You know, there may have been 3 lights used in the entirety of that shot, if that. And it was just embracing what was there. There was some negative inside the office where he punches Red Welby and throws him out the window. There was some negative in there just to get the contrast better, but that was kind of it. That was just Martin and I working out the idea behind the shot. You know, we were always convinced it should be a one-shot scene, that. We felt it had to be. And then it was just working out the technicality of it and how we might do it. But it was, to be honest, pretty straightforward. You know, doing one-shot stuff is not that complex. I just feel there has to be a reason behind it. You know, you have to remember when you do things in one shot, you don't, editorially, you don't have anywhere to go. I see a lot of one-shot stuff and you think, well, why? Because sometimes I see one-shot stuff and I think, well, why? You know, it feels to be a technical exercise and what you're trying to do is going, hey, look at this, it's one shot. I think there always has to be a reason why you're trying to do that. I do think there's something great about one-shot stuff. I think, you know, examples like Birdman, you know, I mean, Birdman's amazing. because it works in an immersive way, I think, one-shot stuff. But that has been embraced for the entire film, and that really works. But I've seen other films where they do a one-shot thing, and you just think, well, you've just made your life technically very difficult for no real reason, because it's not working as a one-shot. Because it's a very intense scene, and things happen in there which surprise you. What you don't want to do, sometimes a cut to somebody can telegraph a moment to the audience. Like you cut round there, oh, something's going to happen because we've cut round this side. So I wanted the things, you know, when he punches Red, that comes as a shock. So if you just suddenly cut round to the other side and his fist comes back, I thought you would have known it. Also, I think that what happens with a cut sometimes is it gives the audience a moment to inhale, to let out a breath. And sometimes on those very intense scenes, it's like the shot starts, the breath is taken, and then you're sort of holding that breath through the shot. And the cut can be a reason to go, you know, and sometimes it lets them off the hook a little. So that's what I like about one-shot things. They can be incredibly immersive in a way for an audience.